Imagine finally making a viral Roblox game only for it to get deleted. Well, today we're going to be looking at 6 popular Roblox games that are fully deleted. Let's start with Magnet Simulator, a Roblox game that got 61 million visits before being fully deleted from the platform. Magnet Simulator was your typical simulator game. You use your magnet to collect coins, sell the coins for money, work on upgrades, unlock different levels and more. It seemed like a pretty innocent game, so why did it get deleted? Let's break down what happened. The game was made by Lewis Clifford in late 2018, and here's the weird thing. Lewis Clifford also joined Roblox in late 2018. He joined Roblox and a few months later released this game. How was he able to do this so quickly? Well, over time as the game started to gain momentum, we would eventually get our answer. Magnet Simulator launched at a time where a lot of simulator games were in their peak. In general, it was a good time for that genre, and with the game being a fresh new concept and being well made, it quickly farmed an audience. In the first few weeks of launch, it already had almost 100,000 visits and hundreds of people active. It seemed like this game was going to grow into one of the biggest games at the time, but in just a few weeks of it being out, the game was also fully deleted. See, here's the thing. The reason this game was made so quickly is because the owner, Lewis Clifford, has been lying. The game and a lot of its assets were directly stolen from another popular simulator at the time, being Bubblegum Simulator, and they weren't just inspired. The map, the pets and more were directly just stolen from Bubblegum Simulator, who obviously weren't happy about this, so he got the game taken down. However, the story doesn't end here. Lewis Clifford now had a choice to make. He did get caught, but he could use this as an opportunity to change and try making the game proper, or do the bare minimum and try getting the game back. And unfortunately, he chose the second choice. He got rid of some stolen assets and changed stuff up, which did allow the game to be brought back. But he still didn't properly change everything. However, at the time, it didn't matter. And for a full year, the game would continue to be on Roblox, only growing bigger. At one point, it was literally one of the biggest simulators on Roblox. Lewis Clifford, even though he wasn't being honest, had done it. His game was averaging tens of thousands of active players and getting millions of visits every month, but his story wouldn't go on for much longer, and everything would come back to bite him. Since he didn't properly change all the stolen assets and stuff, the game would get taken down again in 2019, and this time it was final, because also with that, Lewis Clifford's account would get permanently deleted. He had everything and lost it all. But it was all his fault because he kept breaking the rules. The reason his account was terminated was because he was black market selling Roblox Limiteds, which is against the rules. This also deleted his other popular game Ninja Masters with over 38 million visits, totaling almost 100 million visits down the drain. If you thought that was crazy though, wait till you hear this next story. Because our next game is Beekeepers, a Roblox game that got over 1.3 million visits before being fully deleted. Beekeepers was inspired from another popular Roblox game, Bee Swarm Simulator, and a lot of the bees in the game are directly based off Bee Swarm Simulator. It was a nice fan game, and fans of Bee Swarm Simulator played it because it was pretty similar. That's how they ended up growing over time, but also with time came the deletion. After just less than 1 year in 2020, things were going great, but then the game got fully deleted. Even though it was a harmless fan game, they were using stuff from Bee Swarm Simulator, so when they realized, the copyright took down the game. And it seemed like this was the end for the developer, but they wouldn't give up that easily. They spent the next 6 months recreating and revamping the whole game, and by December 5th, 2020, the game was back up. But chaos will strike again. It only took 5 days for the game to get deleted again. On December 10th, 2020, the game was fully deleted yet again. This time, it was a false copyright strike from another fan-made game, however this time, they couldn't get the game back. These developers worked so hard on the game and it got deleted, then worked so hard to get the game back, just for it to get deleted again. It seemed like their years of efforts was going to go all down the drain, but they weren't ready to give up just yet. 4 months later, they were back with a new game. This time they revamped it to Bird Keepers. This wasn't their main plan though. And after almost 2 years later, the developers relaunched Beekeepers with everything original, and the game did end up being more successful, even though it did sadly die off. These developers lost everything time and time again, but surprisingly kept coming back. The same can be said though for our next developer who lost everything. The game being Athelborn. It got over 6.5 million visits before being fully deleted off the platform. This is the developer, Deluxe3, and his styles of games is a bit different. See, Deluxe3 wanted to make super gory and bloody Roblox games, which obviously is crossing the line a little bit, but he was ready to play with fire. The first game he made was called Blood Engine, and by the name you can see he was testing the waters with a super gory and bloody game, and this gained some traction, and some of his other similar games also did well. He put all that together to make Athelborn, a bloody, gory fighting game on Roblox, where players would use weapons to fight each other, and by winning fights you earn money which you could use to get better weapons. And even though the game was treading on thin ice, it still performed well. For a year the game found an audience who liked the style and garnered millions of visits. Even though Deluxe3 was making different games, it was working. However, even if players liked it, Roblox themselves didn't, and eventually the creator was terminated along with the game. We don't know the full exact reason, but everyone assumes it was due to the nature of the game, and not being fully allowed on Roblox. But also with that, this whole time Deluxe3, the dev, might have not been honest with us, because he apparently stole some assets from another popular game, Criminality. On top of everything, he also apparently bought items from the Roblox black market. So he had a viral game, but it broke the Roblox rules, and he personally broke the Roblox rules. So once he realized, everything came crumbling down, and millions of visits permanently deleted, which is bad, but not as bad as our next story. because our next game is Sponge, a Roblox horror game that got almost 120 million visits before being fully deleted. The owner Gabe has been on the platform for a while and has made several projects, however, most of them received mild success. This would all change though when he launched Sponge, a SpongeBob themed Roblox horror game. Similar to how Piggy is, but instead of a pig, you're being chased by a SpongeBob looking character. And following the year of release, everything was going great. The game was gaining an audience, they're releasing new updates, but then, 1 year later, it would all change. Out of nowhere one day, when the dev logged onto Roblox, Sponge had been taken down and deleted by Roblox. They then made a post announcing this saying, "As some of you are already aware, Sponge was recently taken down by Roblox. I'm doing everything I can to resolve the issue as soon as I can." This gave fans some hope it would come back, but unfortunately, it never did, and the dev never spoke about this ever again. What happened? Well, since the game is based around SpongeBob, it is presumed SpongeBob copyright took down the game, which isn't actually uncommon. We've seen a ton of SpongeBob games being taken down on Roblox, and this was one of their many targets, leaving over 100 million visits down the drain. There were talks with the owner and devs rebranding it to Soapy, but it never came, and 3 years later it seems like it has been abandoned. The owner is still launching projects, some of which have seen good success, but nothing has still gotten the same popularity as Sponge. A wild story with a wild ending, but not as wild as our next story though. Because Anime Fighting Simulator, a game which got 1.3 billion visits before being removed off Roblox. How could a game this massive get deleted? Let's break down what happened. The owner Nixon has been on the platform for a while and has been a part of a bunch of projects, and finally after years, Anime Fighting Simulator was his big breakthrough. The game is based off the anime My Hero Academia, and players have to gain stats to become stronger, obtain special powers, and more. This game blew up on launch, as fans of the anime flocked to play it. Just after around a year, the game already had 400 million visits. Everything was going great. They had a viral game with a passionate community, and the game was only growing bigger. The game was constantly averaging 50 to 70,000 players, and eventually they even released a sequel, Anime Fighting Simulator X, which also did really well, getting over 70 million visits. The owner and devs were on top of the world, but one day everything stopped. Both games were taken down. What happened? Well, one day, the official My Hero Academia anime made a Roblox game, but not just that. With that game launching, they started taking down any My Hero Academia inspired games since they were technically using their assets, and Anime Fighting Simulator was a part of this takedown. The worst part? They weren't able to get it back. The last message the dev said was that they're working on it, but that was 8 months ago now, and other games affected by this also haven't been able to come back. We don't know if it's fully over just yet, but in the owner's bio it says he's working on 2 new anime games, potentially rebrands or new games. But as for now, almost 1.4 billion visits worth of games are deleted, with seemingly no possibility of them returning. This situation is crazy, and our next one is as well, because our next game is Football Fusion. This game had almost 400 million visits before being fully deleted off the platform, and the story is pretty wild. The creator joined Roblox in 2019, and then a few months later launched Football Fusion, a football simulation game where the players play football. It was pretty well made, and on top of that, they had real teams in the game, so football fans loved it, and it's becoming one of the biggest football games on Roblox. Just after a year or so, the game was doing incredible, but around 2 years in, the game was taken down and fully deleted. See, players loved that the game used real football teams, however, this actually wasn't allowed, and the game ended up being taken down for copyright, as they're technically using their assets. It seemed to be over, as the game wasn't allowed to be restored either, but the creator was only getting started. He knew what to do now, and even if the game wasn't allowed to be restored, the core gameplay was still allowed, and all he had to do was switch out the teams, and that's exactly what he did. He spent a while making a new version with original teams and finally relaunched with Football Fusion 2. The question now is, would people still care? People love the real team aspect, and this one didn't have it. Only time will tell though, and potentially all his work and effort was for nothing. But well, luckily, people did end up caring, and this game exploded. In fact, it quickly overtook Football Fusion 1, and this game now sits at 1.2 billion visits and averages thousands of players every day. This dev was forced to abandon his game with 400 million visits, didn't give up, and came back and launched a game that now has 1.2 billion visits. In general, a lot of Roblox games, big or small, get deleted for a number of reasons. Getting sued, getting exposed for stealing, and more. Every case is different. And if you enjoyed, click here to check out some more crazy Roblox stories, and I'll see you in the next one.